to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda and consent agenda as the order of business. And anybody can identify some items to be taken off for discussion or separate action if you wish. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Anybody want anything taken off for separate discussion or action? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no. And now we will approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from September 15th, 2020 board meeting, the financial report for the period of July 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2020, and bills for the period of September 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2020 in the amount of $1,868,021.85. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, this next item is a public hearing similar to what we experienced in the previous meeting. And the discussion is to waive the requirements to complete an educator effectiveness cycle for educators in their summer year of 2021, including waivers of the requirements to meet PI 8.01 and Wisconsin statutes 115.415 and 121.01 LQ for the 2021 school year due to the COVID-19 public health emergency. Dan, can you explain that to us?
Yes. This is, the state mandates a teacher evaluation system that is formatted to, it's a computer system that's formatted for us to use. What we would like to do is to waive that this year while we produce a teacher evaluation system, which we already use, to be certified by DPI in place of the current system that is educator effectiveness that we are currently using. So we would still be evaluating teachers using our system as we always have. We just no longer would be using the state system. We would have the state approve ours.
Save some work.
Exactly.
So this being a public hearing, I would open it up to the comments of anybody from the community or, of course, the school board members or administration.
Why is now the right time to make that change?
Well, because we basically had it completed when we were moving into the educator effectiveness cycle 7-8 years ago about. And so we stayed with our system and we used the state system as a warehouse basically for our information. It's just that the waiver's available this year. And because the waiver's available, it provides us the time to be able to get our system certified by the state.
Other comments, questions, discussion? Well, do we have a motion, and what we're doing is really approving the administration to apply for the waiver. Do we have a motion accordingly?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no. Legislative update. Superintendent Mella?
Yes, we had our legislative breakfast this month on Monday, and we had a chance to meet with two of our legislators. And currently, they're in the midst of their election cycle, and so there really isn't a lot. There aren't committee hearings. There's no new legislation on the floor, but we did get a chance to discuss a few things. And so one of the things was that the state is changing the reporting system for the coronavirus. So there are some updates and changes that will happen for every public health department. There was a discussion about the federal government extending the lunch program, where students are able to get free lunch throughout the full year. And there was, again, some discussion about estimations and looking forward to projections about what people think might be coming down the pike in terms of budgeting for next year. However, our legislators were, they really didn't want to say yes or no, or how much or how little would be changing due to the coronavirus issues. And most people in Sheboygan, most districts in Sheboygan County have experienced a loss of students, just like we have. In fact, most people statewide have, most districts statewide. And so I know there was relief bills being pushed out earlier, but none of all that kind of is in a holding pattern because of the election season.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
So Dan, just if we could touch just for a minute on this declining enrollments, fewer pupils. Is it, you say it's statewide, is it the state population is just not growing? Is that what it is, or what's the?
Well, that's been the case for a number of years, yes. The state
Okay.
population of school-age children is definitely in decline. However, the phenomenon this year is much more pronounced throughout the state. And a lot of it has to do with who is selecting to send their students to school and not, and to where, related to the COVID pandemic. There have been, a lot of people have opted for homeschool in order to send their students to a virtual setting that maybe was already established somewhere. And so that's been a pull. There's a lot of the little ones, 4Kers, parents aren't just sending them this year just because of the pandemic. So those factors and probably some others are impacting and making this year a little bit of a phenomenon.
Okay. All right.
We did graduate a very large class last year too, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. We did. We really expected, if you just looked at the numbers from last year, we would have expected about a 40-ish, that we would have decreased by about 40 students. But currently our 4K, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Amy, but our 4K numbers this year are low, which is kind of in keeping with what you'd see in other places. And our open enrollment out is an issue as well. And so we're looking into and researching where those families have gone and all of that. So, but we are suspecting that there's a group that moved into homeschooling and is then doing a virtual academy online somewhere as well. We also, there are many families that we know of that are just basically taking this year as a pause and doing some online or homeschooling education, and we're expecting that many of them will come back.
So from a choice standpoint, if we have a virtual school, could we literally have people choice from lacrosse or other area into our school?
We could.
Oh. Okay. That's an interesting scenario.
From challenges, opportunities.
Yeah.
Could they choice into the current virtual school we have, or do we have to do something more?
No, we would have to certify a virtual school as a charter, as a separate entity. Within the school district, it would have to be a charter.
Okay, so they could only choice virtually in if we had a distinct school.
Correct.
Right.
That they could choice into.
Correct.
Or a distinct program, right? Because
Correct.
you could still choice into this school district and then decide to go virtual, couldn't you?
It's like a separate school under the umbrella of Plymouth.
In order to have a virtual school, you would have to charter it.
Okay.
McFarland, Wisconsin has a huge virtual school. It's huge.
Appleton does.
Ozaki has one, they have a virtual.
But hopefully for those families that have taken a break this year and have their kids home, because I know my grandkids in Montana had the choice to go into the school or do virtual at home, and they chose virtual at home in the beginning. But I do know families local here who's like, you know, we're just going to homeschool for this year and then see where it goes.
Yeah, the virtual students count, you know, it's the homeschool.
It's the homeschool.
We had more, yeah, we had more, and
4K numbers are lower. The 4K isn't required either, so they don't have to come, you know. But it's a statewide issue.
So are there openings right now in our 4K program over at Generations?
You mean if somebody would come
In
to
all of our
enroll?
buildings, if anybody came into our city right now and wanted to send their students to 4K in our district, we have space.
Is that right?
You know somebody?
I have to talk to some of my employees, yeah. All right.
But I think, you know, talking about the virtual school, which I have talked for a number of years to get it up and running and do what other schools are doing. I mean, you know, it's not just the local students, but they can be all over the country.
I would like us to be strongly committed to having a top quality virtual school. A number of years ago, we had discussed when that option was, when people realized you could make money off that.
Right.
You know, and we said, we chose not to go that direction because some of that virtual education, at least at that time, was not quality education. And some of the practices were not ethical practices, perhaps. Legal, but not ethical as far as the students were concerned. So, you know, if we go that direction, I want us to make sure that we are doing it very well and you know, in a way that truly is a benefit to the students.
Because to me, it was sad to see students in the Plymouth district be with a different virtual school. And it's not one or two. I mean, there was a number of them. And I have contact with somebody that is involved with that virtual school over in McFarland and can guide us very well in how it is run and how to run it.
Well, we have pillars that guide us though as well, right? And you laid out the deliverables of a comprehensive education, those 5 pieces. We have to consider if we develop a virtual school, how do we continue to deliver those same promises virtually? So it will create challenges. But if we can create something that's unique and it does deliver those deliverables, it might be extremely valuable. And if it is valuable and we can spread our mission wider, that's all the better. But I agree. I mean, we don't want to do it just because it's a revenue item. We want to do it because we can do it in a way that we can provide a quality solution.
We got there through legislative updates, so any other questions or comments on that? All right, let's go to B, the approval to updates and revisions to the reopening plan.
Yeah, I handed out this colorful piece of paper. These are 4 different slides on our reopening plan, and so I'd like to just go through them individually. There are no changes to any of our reopening plan that we're proposing and that we'd like to discuss and get your input on, but there are some additions, and these additions are in relation to the fact that in our county, our COVID cases are increasing and our hospitalizations are increasing. And those 2 things are the space in the hospitals and the ability to deal with the infection rate is on a collision course, which ultimately would be potentially putting us into a severe category according to the metrics of the public health. And so with that would come some decisions that we would have to make in regards to our reopening and our educational model that we're currently using. So if you would, let's start on the elementary, middle school learning options. We talked about this in the committee of the whole the other day, and this would just be approving our ability to have as an option, if required, by our ability to socially distance properly students in the 7th and 8th grade in the middle school, that we would be able to implement an A-B day rotation with those students. Some of the discussion that we had at the last meeting was talking about the students that are currently have chosen the remote option, and with our reaching out to those families currently, this is probably an unlikely situation, because most families that are virtual at the middle school are intending to stay virtual. However, I still think it's an important thing that if we just put it in the plan, that would give us the option to move to it if we needed to as an intermediary step in order to keep students in school. So I'll just throw that one down there and see if anybody has questions about that. And Dina, of course, can help and answer questions with it too. And I know we talked about this one at the committee.
We talked about it.
Pretty extensively. Okay, then let's go down one to the safety protocols, I guess. The safety protocols, this would be an addition. Just as a note, what we'd like to be able to do is have the opportunity to, with good future notice, to add into our calendar some days that were specifically designed for district-wide cleaning and things beyond cleaning. There's other things that need to get done as well. There's the input and taking back in of technology equipment and hotspots and re-inventorying of that kind of thing, and materials that are out and coming back in. And so some of that stuff, it's happening all the time now, but it would be nice to be able to have some days where we could really focus on getting things deeply cleaned and getting to, the surfaces are getting cleaned, the rooms are getting fogged, but sometimes it's, the typical cleaning that we normally do is running out of human resources in order to get that stuff done. The mitigation strategies, that's priority number one. But, getting all the dust bunnies along the wall is sometimes, those kinds of things are needing to be updated. So we're just asking that we would have the ability, again, with good notice, like a month's worth of notice, to say, on a Friday, this will be a deep cleaning day for the district. There will be no additional learning on that day for students, and it would be essentially the students would be done with their work and everything on that day. That's the concept.
Kind of like a snow day?
Kind of like a snow day, which we're not having this year.
So, yeah, but you're talking advance notice, so we're talking a month notice, 2 weeks?
I'd say a month.
Okay.
At least.
Yeah, just so families can plan for that and be able to handle it.
We realize that this would have an impact to families with little children.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Any questions or thoughts, more thoughts? Okay, extracurricular activities on that one, we would like to add a line that, you can read the rest of it, but that the district will weigh county health recommendations among all other information when changing plans for the extracurricular activities. So as you know, on October 6th, the public health put out a memorandum that indicated that they recommended that events such as concerts, sporting events, yada, 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 you shouldn't do that in Sheboygan County. And so that kind of set people off thinking, well, what about the sports that are currently ongoing, or the activities that are currently ongoing in school districts around the area? So in order to clarify, I've spoken with a number of the public health officials, and we have meetings twice and 3 times a week. That recommendation was specifically for community, so it, in particular, for the express purpose to keep kids in school and doing their school activities. So what it referred to was, no concerts. That didn't mean no band concerts at school. That meant we're not going to have Fish come to the park in Sheboygan and have 100,000 people there. We didn't want a mini Sturgis. We don't want to bring all that together. So, and we didn't want to have a 5K race or those types of things where you're bringing large groups of people in and having that around. That was what that was intended to be. It was about the community not having events in order to keep kids in school and kids doing their activities at school. And it's in line with the governor's orders as well. And so with that, we'd like to just have that as an option so that that line then gives us the authority to, we can seek some more information. We don't have to jump by a certain metric to do something with our activities and say, well, we can't have a band concert because this thing exists, when it's really not the intent of that order that was written.
My understanding is the mitigation that the school districts are doing is working, and that the spread is not spreading because of the school being back in session. It's spreading because of other activities out in the community. Is that correct?
That is correct. I've been in meetings with the superintendents and county health. Yes, our numbers in the community are climbing. There has been an increase among school-age children that have contracted COVID, but it's nowhere near the percentage of the increase in cases among really us. It's the adults that are contracting it at a much higher rate. And in fact, in all of our contact tracing, in all of Elkhart Lake's contact tracing, in all of Oostburg's contact tracing, in fact, all of the districts except for Sheboygan, which has a little bit of spread among the students, there hasn't been one case that has spread in our school districts from student to student in school. All of the cases have been from parents or siblings. There's a high correlation between weddings and family gatherings and, students then ultimately testing positive from those cases. And so we're doing the safest. Another interesting tidbit, the proportion of students in our school district who have tested positive for COVID, it's not a lot, it's 12 now, totally, through the course of the first whole part of the year. The proportion of students that, among the students who have chosen online, so they're not in school at all, you're at a higher likelihood of contracting COVID out of that population than of the students that are in school every day. Now, it's just kind of a point to show that it's not happening at school. The transfer is not happening at school or in our activities. It's happening at home, at family gatherings, and those types of things. And that is common throughout the county. And so it's our mitigation factors. They're 6 feet apart. There's plexiglass. There's masks. We've reworked their lunches. We've reworked their recesses. All of that stuff is, you're about as safe as you can be as a child in the district at school compared to anywhere else.
So the sports activities that are happening are different. We didn't do a graduation. These things are not spreading it. They're different because they're part of the curriculum, or extracurricular, but they're part of the education experience. And the focus of county health is to say, let's keep these kids in school doing this kind of stuff. Is that my understanding?
That's the hope of everybody. That's the hope of county health. That's the hope of us. In fact, we are going to do a joint letter, which will be coming out tomorrow, from all the superintendents and county health, imploring our community to help us out and try to, keep those gatherings to a minimum, because that's where everybody is seeing the spread happen. And yes, and the other thing is we've learned a lot from that time until now. We didn't have this data before with our nurses actively contact tracing every single student and adult who tests positive or has symptoms to find out that we kind of know where it's happening now. We didn't know that at the time.
Right.
So that's a difference too. We've learned, and we're going to continue to learn as we go. And decisions will always reflect the new learning that we have. Other thoughts on that one? And then the last one as well, it's the same theme. And that one is, when changes are recommended by county health metrics, the district will consider recommendations but will not be bound by them. My wording, we could change that however we would like. But as I'm sure I mentioned to start with, we are on a collision course where we will be in a severe, their metrics severe. And in that severe metric, the county health will, in that recommendation, says 100% virtual, no activities, no gatherings, no. But those metrics are based on hospital numbers and community areas that don't necessarily represent the Plymouth School District communities. And so in our meetings with them, we are asking for weight to be given in any recommendations to our local data within our district boundaries, and to our mitigation strategies, and to the potential impacts to things like hospitalization rate if you sequester all of the children at home, or if you have them here at school. There are no kids, and have been maybe one or two that at all have ever been in the hospital. So they're not taking hospital beds. And so if we can keep them safe at school, keep them mitigated at school, most people want their students at school, is that if you didn't, you've already made that choice. And we would just like to have that option, and we're trying to work with county health to write any kind of recommendations to allow us those options. But this would allow us to have a little conversation about it. We might choose to say yes, we should maybe go all virtual, or we need a pause. But another factor with this is, if we go in with the severe metric that the county is using currently, those metrics aren't going to change anytime soon. The trajectory of the infection rates, the hospital spaces, I don't see that changing, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. So if we are stuck and bound by a metric, that metric in particular, we're never coming back out into in-person education if we choose to go virtual and follow that recommendation 100%. So I think we need to consider our local data as an important factor. We have 3 nurses working every day, tracking and tracing every single case. So that's more than what county health has. In fact, they've given us, we totally do everything now. All the letters, all the contact tracing, everything. So that's the leeway there that we could get.
I think that's exactly right, in that we look at our own metrics. Are we doing the right thing? Are we doing a good job here as school district? If we're seeing a large outbreak in the district as well as in the county, and we're contact tracing and we're seeing spread among our students, then we make a different decision. But if we're doing all the right things and we are able to control, I mean, there's a big difference. When we have the cooperation of all the students and the parents and the teachers, it's a lot different than when you go through your local hardware store and you see half the people masked and the other half not masked. So we have more control, being a school system, And with the great cooperation we're getting from parents and teachers and students, we're able to perform differently than the county around us. So I think we have to have that consideration. And if we lose control of it, if things start to come apart, then we have to make a different decision, so.
I like the idea of keeping our options open, and it sounds like this would give us that flexibility. So, comments by others?
So we just need a motion
Do we have a motion to approve it then?
I move,
We approve the changes.
and I'm going to second that.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, Dina Budrecki, has an educational update for us.
So, in a time where we are being forced to be physically separated, I think our teachers have come together more than ever. We have seen people sharing ideas, academic, we've seen them support each other with social emotional, with tech resources, especially with the different demands, with those different challenges. We've turned many of those into opportunities to learn and to improve our own skill sets. We have, this Friday is our second PD day, and it's sort of exciting that, typically you pull from outside sources and you try to bring different experts and different learning in, and our PD day has really been driven, is going to be driven by our own staff, providing sessions with things that they've found success. We have a whole slew of different resources that our staff approved, which they've found to be really resourceful, but have not only helped engage their students, but helped to make their processes more efficient. So for example, Paul Krasaniak put together a video to share with the staff, so it allows people to learn at their own pace, to watch it when they, when it works best for them. But he came to me, we were chit-chatting, he's like, I just need something. My kids, my physics class, turn in their papers, and it takes me forever to go through and explain and type out and give them feedback. What can we do? So went out, we did some research and found there's this really great, it's a Google extension. He clicks it once, and it allows him to record his comment right wherever the problem or where he wants to give feedback, and it will give it gives up to 90 seconds of recording, and then it will actually transcribe it into text as well. The student then can be more engaged, so if they're at home, they can then record back and talk to him, and they can have essentially a virtual conversation and not be face-to-face. So it's something that he found. He used it, he said over the weekend, he was grading papers, and it cut his time drastically because he didn't have to do all that typing and manipulating, but found it to be really more engaging for his students. So that's something he just said, more people need to know about this. And I think there's something to say when there's more meaning when somebody approves something or finds it useful, and it just builds that expertise within our own district. So people know if this is something I have a question about, now I know I can reach out to Paul. So it's been really fun as we take those challenges, because it is challenging to really learn how to change your entire teaching philosophy with our high school teachers who are doing both in-person and virtual, and the same, with our middle school and elementary, but for them to really just support each other. And that's something that our principals, when we meet weekly, continue to say. It's amazing how people have stepped up and just really supported each other in a time when, in so many ways, we're isolated. So we're really looking forward to Friday, giving our staff some time to learn new resources and new strategies, but also to then move on and create and help to engage and improve the learning of our students.
The example you used of Paul Krasniak is exciting because he's one of our longest-serving teachers, I believe, and here he is learning new things, like starting all over again, and
Exactly.
that's incredible.
Just a great model that our learning never ends.
Yeah.
And I will let him know that you said longest serving instead of something else.
Appreciate that.
Very tactful.
Okay, and this is just an update, so we don't have to take any action on that. Let's go down to finances, buildings and ground. We were authorized in the previous meeting regarding the district levy. Now we need to certify that district levy. So our decision is to take the $13,093,247.29 figure and now approve that. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then the 2020-21 final budget. Is there information you did share with us, Amy?
Yep, so the final budget amount that you will be approving, or that we're asking you to approve, is a deficit of $519,748. So that's the 504,571 I presented, and then the additional 15,157 from this budget adjustment paper that we handed out, that I handed out.
So,
And again, just a reminder of that, that's broken down into those two categories of capital projects and then our operating deficit.
do we have a motion to approve that budget?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. The approval of the snowplow bid for the 2021 school year. And Amy, could you walk us through that?
Yes, CNS Construction is the only company that bid on our snow plowing. This would be the third year that we would have them as our service for that. The rates are the same as they were this past year, so everything remained the same, and we ask that you approve CNS.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
And then we have the gifts and corresponding budget adjustments. Dan, no?
We have none for this month.
No, we do have two, don't we?
Oops. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Where are they? Oh, yeah. Excuse me. We have a donation of $7,500 from the Gene Haas Foundation to support scholarships and student competition teams. We have a donation of $1,578.65 from Riverview Middle School Student Council. We have an increase in both revenue and expenditure accounts in Fund 21 in the amount of $7,500. And we have the increase in both revenue and expenditure accounts in Fund 21 in the amount of $1,578.65.
Do we have approval of those gifts and corresponding budget adjustments?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. We don't have anybody signed in for the period of public participation here. Next item is the board liaison reports. Sally, what's happening in community education?
Community Ed still does have the fitness center open for people to come and use. Do call ahead and make a reservation slot. And also the aquatic classes are up and running. So if you'd like to partake in that, give Community Ed a call or go on their website.
Thank you, Sally. Bob, what's happening in the foundation?
The foundation did meet. We are looking for more mini grant applications from the staff and anxiously await their ideas. Other than that, end of year is coming, so if you decide you have some extra cash you'd might like to make a contribution to the foundation, we will be sure those funds are spent to provide an enhanced educational experience for our students. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Dan, can you tell us about the Family Resource Center?
Sure, there is this teachers program, quick update there. In September, 70 home visits were completed. There were another currently 72 families that are currently enrolled in the Parents as Teacher program. We started our first virtual screening in October. We handed out about 30 family activity bags were distributed to families in need who do not have certain learning toys or activities for their children. These activity bags will support virtual home visits moving forward. Virtual and phone visits will continue under the Literacy Council program. U.S. citizenship classes are currently taking place online at LTC and have about 12 students in total. Staff has coordinated a virtual tutor training for 3 days for 12 new tutors, and the LC staff continues to support student and tutor pairs, providing plexiglass shields and hand sanitizers and other safety needs to continue to support the students. And that's it.
Thank you. That's a valued partner of ours doing education in our community. Personnel, we have a support staff update.
Yes, we have a few support staff added to the district. No actions required on these. First of all, Sarah Pethin has been hired as a special education aide at Parkview Elementary School. Jennifer Gelzer has been hired as the chef for the Plymouth School District. And Nicole Lensmeyer has been hired as the payroll and benefits coordinator for the Plymouth School District. I'd just like to say just one quick thing about that. The job description of that payroll and benefits coordinator is quite extensive. It's much more than payroll. And I know that we've had some discussions in the past here about our HR function. And I think that as we look at the job description for both Nikki and Amy, there's ample space within those job descriptions to cover our HR function, but I would like to have some discussion about that moving into the future about how that looks and how that is accomplished. But it's quite a list for Nikki.
It's good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a future discussion.
Correct, future discussion.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent, excellent. And we don't have to take action on support staff. Nothing on the consent agenda for the president's report. I just want to inform the board that if you wish to waive your salary, we have the legal right to do that now. The process is by December 1st, send a letter or an email to our clerk, our treasurer, and make sure Amy Williams is copied on that as well, just saying that you want to waive your salary for the next year. It's a December to, it's a January to December type of thing. So that process is available for us. Dan, superintendent report?
Yes, obviously I spoke quite a bit before, so I'd just like to skip right ahead to our accomplishments and upcoming events, because we always have a ton of accomplishments. Our kids and teachers and family members do such great things here. So some of the things that are happening out there, our Plymouth High School volleyball team finished the regular season with an outstanding 6-1 record and won the regular season conference title. Now you can tell it's COVID world because 6-1 wins you the conference title. Girls cross country team finished the second in the ECC conference meet, and Maggie Munson won the individual title. The boys team finished fifth, and they all ran in the WIAA subsectional today, and I can say that Maggie Munson again broke the school record. I don't know what the result is because two subsectionals have to come together because of social distanced running now, so we're not quite sure yet what is the result. Plymouth High School celebrated homecoming in the week of October 5th through the 9th. Many activities. were partaken of. We actually had a socially distanced homecoming officially in the district, and there was still some excitement out there, so that was some normalcy. Boys soccer was co-champions of the conference with the 4-0-1 record, and they played a playoff game against Denmark today, and I don't know the results because it started at 4 o'clock. They won. They won? Then we know.
Great.
Wonderful. A couple of, those are some activities, but our academics are always key. Don Pullman talked about the Food Science and Ag Center. Here's a result. Hello, everyone. This is a letter from one of our staff, Tracy Heinbuck. In June, Dallas Creasa and Anna Seifert competed in the State Agri-Science Fair with their project titled The Effects of Adding Hydrogen Peroxide to Water Culture in a Hydroponic System to Grow Lettuce. Sounds interesting, doesn't it? They were the state winners and found out at the end of August that they were national finalists. Today, which was a week ago, or last Friday, Caitlin and I found out, Caitlin is our new ag teacher, found out that they are in the top 3 in the nation. Wow. And we find out soon if, at the end of October, if they win the national award in agri-science. So, you know, sometimes you build it and you have the opportunity and water finds its level, even if it's full of hydrogen peroxide.
I was going to say.
I know. I thought of that after it was coming out of my mouth. I thought, how am I going to deal with this? But wonderful. Congratulations to them. Just I'd like one quick note here. Obviously, challenges and opportunities keep presenting themselves all the time. And as one of our board members eloquently put it in the past week, many people are coming from many different educational experiences, and we all experience these things differently, and with the whole COVID world. So we got a letter from a parent talking about her son. As a parent, I wanted to thank you for everything that is being done to try to keep learning in person as much as you can. My son is in fifth grade at a school, I'm not going to say, this year, and being in school learning has been absolutely amazing for him. His whole demeanor has changed since last spring, when I was definitely noticing signs of depression in him. He has matured and is back to his happy, energetic self. I especially noticed a difference this morning when he had to do his religious ed virtually. He immediately slipped back into the quiet, unfocused, sad kid that I saw last spring. I know eventually we may have to go virtual, but I just wanted you to know how grateful my family is for everything that's being done to keep the Plymouth School District going in person during as much as possible. So those are things we hear all the time.
Great. Thank you, Dan. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes. So I want to know, what is hydrogen peroxide in water?